Across the vast expanse of the Galactic Alliance, the sudden reemergence of the ancient alien monarch sent shockwaves through the fragile peace that had reigned for centuries. Long ago, the Monarch's people had been one of the most powerful and influential civilizations in the known galaxy, their technological marvels and military might unmatched. But over the generations, internal strife and external conflicts had slowly eroded their dominance, until the monarch herself was forced into a centuries-long slumber, her empire crumbling around her. Now, with the monarch's awakening, the alliance found itself in a precarious position. Reports of the monarch's forces amassing on the edge of alliance space had sent diplomatic envoys scurrying, desperate to establish contact and avert a looming confrontation. But when the monarch's emissaries delivered her ultimatum, the alliance's leadership was left reeling. "We will not accept your fleet," the monarch's spokesperson had declared, her voice reverberating through the halls of the Alliance Council chambers. "Our sovereign demands an audience with a human captain, one who can trace their lineage back to the original explorer who made first contact with our people. Only then will we consider negotiating a peaceful resolution." The demand was as unexpected as it was unnerving. For centuries, the Alliance had prided itself on being the diplomatic and technological hub of the galaxy, a beacon of cooperation and progress. The idea that an ancient, reclusive monarch would refuse their mighty armada in favor of a single human ship was almost unfathomable. "This is an outrage," one Alliance minister shouted, pounding his fist on the table. "How dare she make such a preposterous demand? We should assemble the full might of our fleets and crush her resistance before it spreads." But cooler heads prevailed, recognizing the immense risk of provoking the monarch's wrath. Her people, though diminished, still possessed technologies and capabilities that far outstripped the Alliance's own, and the thought of facing the monarch's forces without the cooperation of her own leadership was a sobering prospect. As the debate raged on, the Alliance's diplomatic corps scoured their historical archives, searching for any mention of the human explorer who had once made contact with the monarch species. The details were scant, buried beneath layers of redacted files and classified reports. But eventually, a glimmer of hope emerged. A single name, a lone voyager who had ventured beyond the boundaries of known space and forged an unlikely alliance. With no other viable options, the Alliance leadership reluctantly agreed to the monarch's demand. A call went out across the far-flung human colonies, summoning the descendant of that ancient explorer to a crucial meeting. The fate of the entire Galactic Alliance now hinged on the willingness of one human and their ability to navigate the treacherous political landscape that awaited them. As the chosen human captain was ushered into the hallowed halls of the Alliance Council, a palpable tension filled the air. All eyes were on this individual, tasked with the weight of diplomacy and the future of countless worlds. The monarch's response would determine the course of the galaxy, and no one dared to imagine the consequences of failure. The human captain, a seasoned explorer named Ava Rain, sat uncomfortably in the ornate chair, her eyes scanning the faces of the Alliance Council members. She had been selected for this mission not by her own choice, but by the weight of her family's legacy, a legacy that she had long since tried to outrun. Ava's great-grandfather, Jackson Rain, had been the human explorer who had made first contact with the monarch species centuries ago. His daring voyage beyond the edge of known space and the alliance he had forged with the ancient alien civilization had become the stuff of legend. But for Ava, it was a burden she had never wanted to bear. "Captain Rain," the Alliance's representative began, his voice grave, "we find ourselves in a most precarious situation. The monarch has issued a clear demand. She will only negotiate with a human captain who can trace their lineage to your great-grandfather. And given the scale of the threat she poses, we have no choice but to honor her request." Ava felt her stomach knot with a familiar mix of unease and resentment. She had spent years trying to distance herself from her family's legacy, to forge her own path among the stars. The last thing she wanted was to be thrust back into the spotlight, forced to confront the weight of her ancestors' actions. "With all due respect, sir," Ava replied, her voice measured. "My great-grandfather's exploits happened centuries ago. I'm not even sure I'm the best person for this mission. Surely there are other, more qualified human captains who—" "I'm afraid there are no other options, Captain Rain," the representative interrupted, his expression grave. "The Monarch has made it abundantly clear that she will accept no substitutes, and the stakes are too high for us to refuse her demand." Ava fell silent, her mind racing. She knew the consequences of defying the Monarch's ultimatum. The Galactic Alliance would be forced to confront her alone, a prospect that filled even the most seasoned military commanders with dread. And despite her reservations, Ava couldn't ignore the weight of her family's legacy, the responsibility that had been thrust upon her. "What exactly does the Monarch want?" Ava asked, resigned to her fate. "That is unclear," the representative admitted. "Her emissaries have given us little more than the demand for a human captain from your bloodline. They claim she wishes to negotiate a peaceful resolution, but beyond that, her intentions remain a mystery." Ava nodded slowly, her mind whirling. She knew that the Monarch's sudden reemergence could not bode well for the galaxy. Ancient civilizations did not simply reawaken without cause. And if the Monarch's forces were indeed amassing on the edge of Alliance space, then time was of the essence. "Very well," Ava said, steeling her resolve. "I'll do it, but I'll need a dedicated crew, the best pilots, navigators, and strategists you can provide. This is no small task you're asking of me." The representative nodded, relief evident on his face. "Of course, Captain Rain. We will assemble a hand-picked crew to accompany you on this critical mission. The fate of the Galactic Alliance rests on your shoulders." As Ava was dismissed from the council chambers, she couldn't help but feel the weight of her ancestors' legacy pressing down upon her. The Monarch's demand had dredged up memories and responsibilities she had long since tried to bury. But with the future of countless worlds hanging in the balance, she knew there was no turning back. The sleek, state-of-the-art human vessel cut through the void of space, its engines humming with power as it approached the towering, technologically advanced homeworld of the alien Monarch. Ava Rain, the reluctant but determined captain, stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the looming planet below. Beside her, the hand-picked crew she had assembled bustled with nervous energy. They were an eclectic group, drawn from the finest pilots, navigators, and strategic minds the Galactic Alliance could offer. Each one had been carefully selected for their skills and expertise, but also for their ability to adapt to the unknown. Approaching the Monarch's homeworld, "Captain," reported the navigation officer, his voice taut with tension. "Initiating docking procedures now." Ava nodded, her jaw set. "Maintain a tight security perimeter. I don't want any surprises when we set foot on that planet." As the human vessel glided into the Monarch's towering spaceport, Ava and her crew were greeted by a contingent of the Monarch's elite guards, sleek, biomechanical beings whose very presence exuded an air of ancient power and authority. "Welcome, descendants of the human explorer," one of the guards intoned, her voice resonating with a strange, otherworldly cadence. "The Monarch awaits your audience." Without another word, the guards turned and began to lead the way, their movements fluid and graceful. Ava and her crew followed, their senses on high alert, their eyes drinking in the marvels that surrounded them. The Monarch's palace was a breathtaking sight, a vast, gleaming structure that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Towering spires reached up towards the heavens, their surfaces shimmering with an iridescent glow. As they passed through the grand, ornate halls, Ava couldn't help but feel a sense of awe and trepidation. Finally, they arrived at the throne room, a cavernous chamber bathed in an ethereal light. And there, upon a dais at the far end, sat the alien Monarch herself, a regal, imposing figure whose very presence seemed to fill the room. Ava steeled herself, then stepped forward, her crew following close behind. As they approached the dais, the Monarch's piercing gaze fell upon them, and Ava felt a shiver run down her spine. "Greetings, descendants of the human explorer," the Monarch intoned, her voice a haunting melody that seemed to resonate within Ava's very being. I have waited centuries for this moment. Ava swallowed hard, her mouth suddenly dry. You wish to speak with me, Your Majesty." The monarch's lips curled into a faint smile, a gesture that seemed to hold a lifetime of sorrow and regret. "Indeed, Captain Rain, I have a proposition for you, one that will determine the fate of not only my own empire, but the entire Galactic Alliance." Ava felt her heart racing as the monarch's words sank in. She had known that the stakes were high, but the weight of this responsibility was almost crushing. Glancing back at her crew, she saw the same apprehension reflected in their eyes. "Then, by all means, Your Majesty," Ava replied, her voice steadier than she had expected. "I'm listening." The alien monarch rose from her throne, her robes cascading around her in a fluid motion. Her eyes, a mesmerizing blend of violet and azure, seemed to bore into Ava's very soul. "For centuries, my people have been the custodians of an ancient legacy," the monarch began, her voice rich and resonant. "We were once the most powerful civilization in this galaxy, our technological wonders and military might unmatched." She paused, her gaze drifting towards the towering windows that overlooked her crumbling empire. "But as the generations passed, our own hubris and greed led to our downfall. Internal strife, external conflicts, they all conspired to erode our dominance, until I was forced to retreat into a deep, restorative slumber." Ava listened, her mind racing to keep up with the monarch's revelations. She had known, of course, that the monarch's people had once been a formidable force in the galaxy, but the depth of their decline was startling. "And now, I have awakened to find my empire in ruins," the monarch continued, her voice tinged with sorrow. "Torn apart by factions vying for power, my once mighty civilization is on the brink of collapse." The monarch turned her gaze back to Ava, her expression hardening. "That is why I have summoned you, descendant of the human explorer. I believe that only a human captain, imbued with the spirit of your ancestor, can help me restore order and reclaim my rightful place." Ava felt a knot of trepidation form in the pit of her stomach. The responsibility that the monarch was placing upon her shoulders was immense, and the potential consequences of failure were unimaginable. "Your Majesty, Ava began, struggling to find the right words. "I'm honored by your request, but I'm not sure I'm the right person for this task. My great-grandfather's exploits happened centuries ago, and The monarch raised a slender hand, silencing Ava with a gentle gesture. "I understand your hesitation, Captain Rain. The burden I am placing upon you is a heavy one, and the fate of countless worlds hangs in the balance." She stepped closer, her eyes burning with an intensity that made Ava's breath catch in her throat. "But I have seen the spark of your ancestors' spirit within you. You possess the courage, the resourcefulness, and the unyielding determination that I believe will be crucial to our success." Ava felt a surge of conflicting emotions, pride, fear, and a deep sense of duty that she had long tried to ignore. The monarch's words had stirred something within her, a calling that she had spent years trying to suppress. "Your Majesty, Ava paused, her gaze drifting to her assembled crew. Each one of them looked to her with a mix of trust and uncertainty, their futures now inextricably linked to her decision. Taking a deep breath, Ava turned back to the monarch, her resolve hardening. "I will do it. I'll lead your mission and do everything in my power to help restore your empire." A faint smile tugged at the corners of the monarch's lips. "Then so it shall be, Captain Rain. Together, we will forge a new legacy, one that will echo through the ages." As Ava and her crew prepared to depart for the unknown, a single thought nagged at the back of her mind. Had she just made the most important decision of her life, or the gravest mistake? The human vessel cut through the vast, uncharted expanse of space, its sleek form a stark contrast against the endless sea of stars. Ava Rain stood at the helm, her gaze fixed ahead, her mind racing with a tumult of emotions. Beside her, The hand-picked crew she had assembled moved with a quiet efficiency, their eyes scanning the monitors and readouts with a practiced eye. They were the best of the best, culled from the finest pilots, navigators, and strategic minds the Galactic Alliance had to offer. And yet, as they ventured deeper into the unknown, even Ava could sense the undercurrent of unease that rippled through them. "Captain, we're approaching the coordinates the Monarch provided," reported the navigation officer, her voice taut with tension. "Sensors are picking up something. I'm not sure what, but it's unlike anything I've ever seen." Ava felt a chill run down her spine. The Monarch had been frustratingly vague about the nature of the challenge they were about to face, only hinting at the immense power and malevolence of the enemy they would confront. And now, as they drew closer to their destination, the uncertainty and dread that had been building within her crew was palpable. "Maintain course, but keep the weapon systems primed and ready," Ava ordered, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. "I have a feeling we're about to encounter something truly unprecedented." As the human vessel sliced through the darkness, Ava couldn't help but reflect on the weight of the responsibility that had been thrust upon her. She was the descendant of a legendary explorer, a bloodline that the alien monarch had deemed worthy of this perilous mission. And yet, Ava had spent years trying to distance herself from that legacy, to forge her own path among the stars. Now, with the fate of countless worlds hanging in the balance, she found herself thrust back into the spotlight, her every action and decision subject to the scrutiny of the Monarch and the Galactic Alliance. The pressure was immense, and Ava couldn't help but wonder if she was truly prepared for the challenges that lay ahead. Suddenly, the bridge erupted in a cacophony of alarms and frantic shouts. Ava's head snapped up, her gaze locking onto the view screen as a sight unlike anything she had ever witnessed unfolded before her. A vast, shimmering anomaly stretched out before them, its edges seemingly infinite. Tendrils of energy crackled and danced along its surface, and Ava could feel the very fabric of space itself distorting around it. "What in the name of the stars is that?" Ava breathed, her eyes wide with awe and trepidation. I'm not sure, Captain," the navigation officer replied, her voice trembling. "The sensor readings are off the charts. It's like nothing we've ever encountered before." Ava felt a bead of sweat trickle down her brow as she stared at the anomaly, its very presence seeming to exude a sense of ancient primal power. She knew that they were on the precipice of something extraordinary, something that would test the limits of their endurance and their very understanding of the universe. With a deep breath, Ava turned to her crew, her eyes burning with a newfound determination. "All right, everyone. This is it. Whatever lies beyond that anomaly, we're going to face it head-on. I want full power to the engines and weapon systems, and I want every single one of you ready to give it your all. We're about to make history, whether we survive it or not." As the human vessel surged forward, Ava braced herself for the unknown, her ancestors' legacy weighing heavily upon her shoulders. As the human vessel emerged from the shimmering anomaly, Ava and her crew were met with a sight that left them utterly transfixed. The Monarch's once magnificent homeworld lay before them, but the vast, glittering cityscape they had expected was nowhere to be seen. In its place, a scene of utter devastation unfolded. The planet's surface was a patchwork of ruined structures and cratered landscapes, as if some unimaginable force had swept across the land, leaving only ruin in its wake. Ava felt her heart sink as she took in the scale of the destruction, her mind reeling with the implications. What in the name of the stars happened here? She breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. The navigation officer's fingers danced across her console, her brow furrowed in concentration. Scanning for life signs. There are some, but they're faint and scattered. It's as if the entire population has been wiped out. Ava felt a chill run down her spine. The Monarch had spoken of a looming threat, a malevolent force that had the power to bring her mighty empire to its knees. And now, as they gazed upon the devastation below, it was clear that this threat was not mere hyperbole. Suddenly, The comm system crackled to life, and the regal, haunting voice of the alien monarch filled the bridge. "Captain Rain, I'm relieved to see that you and your crew have arrived safely." There was a tangible tremor in the monarch's voice, a rare display of emotion that sent a pang of concern through Ava. "But as you can see, my homeworld lies in ruins, the victims of an ancient and malevolent enemy that has returned to reclaim what was once theirs." Ava felt a surge of determination in the face of the monarch's desperation. "Your Majesty, what happened here? Who could have done this?" The monarch's reply was laced with a bitter sorrow. "They are called the Volderi, an ancient alien race that was thought to have been eradicated centuries ago. But now they have returned, driven by a thirst for vengeance and a desire to reclaim the dominance they once held over the galaxy." Ava's mind raced as she tried to comprehend the implications of this revelation. "Then, what do you need us to do? How can we help?" There was a pause, and when the monarch spoke again, her voice was tinged with a renewed resolve. "Captain Rain, I have watched your ancestors' exploits for generations, and I believe that you and your crew possess the courage, the ingenuity, and the sheer determination to stand against the Volderi and reclaim my homeworld." Ava felt the weight of the monarch's words settle upon her shoulders, a burden that she had never anticipated bearing. But as she looked around at her crew, she saw the same unwavering resolve burning in their eyes. "Then, Your Majesty, we will not let you down. Whatever it takes, we will stand by your side and help you defeat this enemy." Ava's voice was steady, her conviction unwavering. The monarch's reply was laced with a glimmer of hope. "I was hoping you would say that, Captain Rain. Together, we will forge a new legacy, one that will echo through the ages." As the human vessel descended towards the monarch's devastated homeworld, Ava and her crew braced themselves for the battle that lay ahead, their hearts filled with a determination to honor the legacy of their ancestors and reclaim the future of the galaxy. The human vessel descended upon the monarch's devastated homeworld, its engines burning with a fierce determination that matched the resolve of Ava and her crew. As they drew closer, the scale of the destruction became even more apparent, a sobering testament to the power of the Volderi. Ava stood at the bridge, her eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical readouts. Beside her, the monarch's advisors, a cadre of regal, biomechanical beings, offered counsel and insights into the enemy's tactics and strengths. "The Volderi have seized control of our primary citadels and production centers," one of the advisors intoned, her voice laden with a mix of sorrow and fury. "They have also mobilized massive energy disruption fields that are crippling our defenses and communications." Ava nodded, her mind racing. "Then we'll need to find a way to disable those fields and give your forces a fighting chance. Any suggestions?" The advisor's gaze hardened. The Volderi's command center is located deep within their fortified stronghold, protected by layers of advanced shielding and automated defenses. To breach their defenses, we will need to employ a bold and highly coordinated attack. Ava turned to her crew, her eyes sweeping across their determined faces. "All right, everyone. This is it. We're going to take the fight to the Volderi and reclaim the monarch's homeworld, no matter the cost." The crew sprang into action, their fingers flying across their consoles as they prepared for the assault. Ava watched with a mix of pride and trepidation, knowing that the fate of countless worlds rested on their shoulders. As the human vessel approached the Volderi's fortified stronghold, the crew unleashed a barrage of tactical strikes, their weapons fire carving through the enemy's defenses with devastating precision. Ava gripped the edge of her console, her knuckles white, as she watched the battle unfold. Suddenly, a brilliant flash of energy pierced the Volderi's shielding, and Ava felt a surge of triumph course through her. "There, the energy disruption field is down. Now's our chance to strike at the heart of their command center." The crew responded with a flurry of coordinated maneuvers, their ships weaving and darting through the enemy's defenses with a fluid grace that belied their human origins. Ava watched, transfixed, as they unleashed a cascade of devastating attacks, their ingenuity and resilience shining through in every moment. As the battle raged on, Ava couldn't help but marvel at the sheer determination and resourcefulness of her crew. They fought with a ferocity that seemed to defy the very laws of physics, their tactics evolving and adapting to counter the Volderies' relentless onslaught. And in the midst of the chaos, the Monarch's forces rallied, their spirits lifted by the humans' unwavering courage. Slowly but surely they began to push back against the Volderie, their ancient technologies and battle-honed skills complementing the humans' innovative approach. Ava felt a surge of pride as she watched the tide of the battle turn, the Volderie's grip on the Monarch's homeworld beginning to slip. She knew that this was a pivotal moment, the turning point that would determine the fate of the galaxy. With a deep breath, she steeled her resolve and issued a final order to her crew. All ahead, full power. Let's show these Volderie what humanity is made of. As the human vessel surged forward, Ava couldn't help but feel a renewed sense of purpose. Her ancestors' legacy had brought her to this moment, and she was determined to honor it by leading her crew to victory, no matter the cost. In the aftermath of the battle, the Monarch's homeworld stood battered but not broken, a testament to the resilience and courage of those who had fought to reclaim it. Ava Rain and her crew, exhausted but triumphant, stood before the regal figure of the alien monarch, their eyes shining with a newfound respect and admiration. The monarch's gaze swept across the assembled humans, her expression unreadable. Then, slowly, a faint smile tugged at the corners of her lips. "Captain Rain," she began, her voice soft yet laden with a profound gravity. "You and your crew have accomplished what my own forces could not. You have stood against the might of the Volderie and prevailed, restoring hope to my people and reclaiming our homeworld." Ava felt a surge of pride, but there was also a lingering uncertainty. "Your Majesty, we were only able to succeed because of the skill and determination of my crew and the technological wonders of your own empire. I'm not sure we could have done it alone." The monarch's expression softened, and she raised a hand in a graceful gesture. "Perhaps not, Captain, but it was your leadership, your unwavering spirit, and the legacy of your ancestors that truly turned the tide of this battle. You have proven that the human spirit is a force to be reckoned with, even in the face of our most ancient and formidable enemies." She paused, her gaze drifting to the horizon, where the ruins of her once great civilization still smoldered. "And now, with the Volderie threat neutralized, we must turn our attention to the daunting task of rebuilding. It is a challenge that will require the combined might of both our peoples, the technological mastery of my empire, and the ingenuity and resilience of yours." Ava felt her heart skip a beat as the monarch's words sank in. "Your Majesty, are you offering us a chance to forge a new alliance?" The monarch's eyes met Ava's, and in that moment, the human captain saw a glimmer of hope that she had never imagined possible. "Indeed, Captain Rain, I am extending an invitation to you and your crew to join me in ushering in a new era of cooperation and prosperity across the stars." Ava turned to her crew, her gaze sweeping across their faces. She saw the same mixture of awe, trepidation, and boundless enthusiasm that she felt within herself. This was a moment that would shape the course of not just their own lives, but the very future of the galaxy. With a deep breath, Ava turned back to the monarch, her resolve hardening. "Your Majesty, we would be honored to accept your offer. Together, we will rebuild your empire and forge a lasting alliance that will echo through the ages." The monarch's smile widened, her eyes shining with a newfound hope. "Then so it shall be, Captain Rain. From this day forward, our peoples will stand as allies, united in our quest to reclaim the glory of the past and forge a brighter tomorrow." As Ava and her crew prepared to embark on this momentous new chapter, she couldn't help but reflect on the incredible journey that had brought them to this point. From the moment the monarch had issued her unexpected demand, to the harrowing battle against the Volderie, every step had been a test of their courage, their ingenuity, and their unwavering determination. And now, as they stood on the cusp of a new era, Ava knew that the legacy of her ancestors would live on, not just in the annals of history, but in the actions and deeds of the Human Monarch Alliance that would shape the future of the galaxy.